Okay, good evening, everyone. Firstly, can I just say it's nice to hear Daryl's stories and Chloe's stories, and congratulations to the pair of you for kind of doing so well. My name is Mohammed Ansar. I'm one of the outreach officers at the University of Birmingham, and I've been asked to talk to you guys about the applying to a Russell Group university. And I believe someone's kind of got my presentation up. Okay, if we can have the next slide. So I'll kind of quickly go through what kind of the audience members need to do. I understand you've got students from kind of year 9 up to kind of the sixth formers. Ultimately, hard work. Without hard work, it's going to be extremely difficult. And I'm sure if you asked, Chloe and and Daryl and the other young people that come through it, kind of, the Excel Academy, all of them will say it does take hard work, and there's no such thing as a free lunch. And you start that from year 9. You start that, from now, if you're in kind of later years. And universities, and especially Russell Group universities, do a lot kind of support students from kind of less advantaged backgrounds by organising a number of different programs. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about specifically what the University of Birmingham offers to kind of support your sons and daughters. But most universities will be, will be similar. I know my kind of former colleague Esther, who is also on, on this chat, is now working at the University of Gloucester, and I know they do quite a lot with King Solomon School. So I'm going to give you a flavour of what Birmingham offers, but a lot of universities will kind of offer the same stuff. So Russell Group universities, if I can have the next slide, please, and the next one. We just kind of click again. Right, so, and again, please. So these are your Russell Group universities, and these are your top 24 universities in the country, and these are your older traditional universities. So places like Birmingham, Oxford, Cambridge, King's, University of Warwick, and these are kind of, your top universities. Now, because of your top universities, obviously it's going to be more competitive to get into them. They get lots and lots of applications that tend to do more of your academic types of kind of degree programs, and these are the universities will tend to have higher A-level entry grades. Not just higher A-level entry grades, but they will be very specific in quite a lot of their courses about what they want at GCSE. So, for example, if you're going to do any of our business courses at the University of Birmingham, if at GCSE you've got less than a grade 6 in maths and English, they won't even look at your application form. So it's not just about getting the right A-levels, but for a lot of these kind of universities and your competitive courses, they will ask for very specific grades at GCSEs. Chloe, who does medicine, will certainly know this. Kind of medicine, they are looking at, kind of 7s, 8s, and 9s in a range of subjects, not just maths, English, and science, but a range of subjects at GCSE. If you want to do psychology at the University of Bristol, they prefer you to have a minimum of grade 6 in maths, English, and science at GCSE, but would prefer you to have grade 7s. So that's why I'm kind of saying hard work is kind of very, very important, straight from the get-go. And these are your top universities, and obviously kind of the University of Birmingham through kind of Sean's efforts. We do a lot of kind of support with the students at King Solomon School. We'll talk about some opportunities for your sons and daughters in a few seconds. Okay, and can I have the next slide? And our Russell Group universities, for somebody like you, of course they are. Russell Group universities are for absolutely everyone who has the motivation, who has the commitment, who has the dedication to actually, want to make a positive change in their life. Russell Group universities for absolutely everyone. We have a massive program kind of called our Pathways to Birmingham program, which kind of focuses just on students from kind of less privileged backgrounds, less advantaged backgrounds, students who are in first generation, who come from postcodes with low levels of progression to university. And every year, we'll kind of I think last year we had just under 700 students started their degree program at the university through these kinds of schemes. Other universities will have kind of similar schemes. So you've got access to Southampton, you've got access to Leeds. I think Warwick have a similar program. So if you're not thinking about staying local, if you are from Birmingham and you want to move to a Russell Group university kind of away from here, the chances that you will find some kind of access program that will kind of support you. And I'll talk about the kind of Pathways to Birmingham programs in a few. I can have the next slide, please. Okay, so kind of choosing the right university, course content obviously matters quite a lot. You know, at the moment, if you're doing, you know, an A-level in psychology and you're doing EdXL, every single student around the country that's doing EdXL will do the same, curriculum. At university, it is completely different. And how a degree program is designed depends on the expertise of the academics within that department and you know, and you know, kind of the modules. So the modules will be completely different. So what you have to start doing is doing your research. So whether in year 9, whether in year 10, year 11, do your research. The more research that you do, the more informed you'll be. The more informed you are, the better your decisions will be. You know, so if you want to kind of focus your degree program in a particular way, then you need to look at your first year modules, your second year modules, your third year modules to make sure the modules that you are interested in are offered as an option on that degree program. You know, if you're thinking about being the next Elon Musk and you're thinking, yeah, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to do a, you know, a business management degree or something similar, then you want to make sure that you've got modules in, you know, entrepreneurship, you know, international finance, marketing, public relations, that kind of stuff, that those are part of your degree program. Teaching and assessment methods will vary from university to university. Some courses will be more exam-based, others might be kind of slightly more kind of coursework-based. So you need to kind of make sure that you adapt your learning style to your degree program. And of course, ultimately, you want to go to university because you want to get into a graduate destination, and a graduate destination, a job that requires you to have a degree. And the number of graduates in the economy has been kind of rising since the 1960s. Back in the 1960s, only 6 people out of 100 went to university. Now, you know what, 60 years later, over 50% of 18 to 30-year-olds at higher education will have been to university. So suddenly you've got more occupations now that are now require you to have a you know, have a degree. And of course, visiting universities, and it has been difficult for kind of, you know, year 12, year 13 students because of the current situation. And ultimately, when universities start opening up, and they are slowly opening up, go and visit universities, actual set foot on a university campus, because there is nothing better to decide which university you want to go to than get that warm, fuzzy feeling, you know, in the pit of your stomach to kind of say, actually, this is the university that I'm really interested in. And of course, location and the cost. Most students will kind of travel about an hour and a half away from their kind of home town or city. If you need to come home quite often and you know, finance is an issue, going somewhere where it's going to take you 5 or 6 hours to get to is going to, you know, cost you £80 every weekend. Maybe that's not an ideal university for you to choose. So, you know, look at the location and the cost. And obviously some cities are more expensive than others. So, you know, we know London is an expensive city. Oxford is an expensive city. You know, I know because I've worked and lived in those areas. Thank you. Next slide, please. And if you're not sure about what degree program you're going to do, it's not really that much of an issue. Almost 80% of employers actually don't care what degree you've done, what subject you've chosen at university. It's the fact that you've been to university, and I can give you some concrete examples of kind of students kind of at university that have been through the program, who are now doing completely kind of you know, different jobs. I've got one that did a degree in computer science, working also into work for kind of finance institutions. It's now working for Lloyds Bank. Goes on with a degree in psychology, working for Deloitte, one of the big kind of consultancy firms. We've got another one with a degree in theology and religion, and she's now working for Deutsche Bank. So it's the skills that you gain that employers are looking for, and not necessarily the degree program that you've done. In some cases, you don't have a choice. So Chloe wanted to do medicine, she has to do a medicine degree program. You know, if you want to kind of do nursing, physio, you have to do a degree program that is kind of very much related to that subject area. But for kind of almost 80% of jobs, you don't need to have a specific degree. You know, I've been working in higher education ever since I graduated, and my degree is in sociology, which is not kind of directly related, but the skills that I gained are useful for the jobs that I do now. Thank you. Next slide, please. So like I said, you know, do your research. So it makes a difference how old you are, and use all of the people around you. So use, you know, if you're at King Solomon School, use kind of Sean, who's a fantastic, you know, kind of well of, you know, knowledge, etc. You know, talk to your teachers. You know, if you are on any of the kind of university programs, then go and speak to the people at the universities. When you have careers fairs in school or whichever college you're at, go and ask questions, because the more questions you ask, the more information you will have. So do your research. I will always say this to every single student that I talk to: the more research you do, the better your decisions will ultimately be. Thank you. Can you go to the next slide, please? So I'm going to specifically talk about some programs that we offer at Birmingham. And like I said, there'll be lots of universities that offer kind of similar programs. They will have kind of slightly different names, but like I said, do your research. So some universities will have programs that support students in year 12 and year 13. So they'll have kind of summer schools. We have the Roots to the Professions program, but Inspired at Birmingham. If you're in kind of year 9, year 10, year 11, universities will run summer schools kind of during the summer, and if you are eligible, you do not have to pay for any of these programs. Next click, please. So like I was saying, you've got Access Southampton, Leeds, you've got the Manchester Access Programme, you've got the Bristol Access Programme. These are kind of more for local students. You've got kind of Access to Leicester, and of course, we've got kind of Access to Birmingham, which was the original one of these schemes, which has been kind of running for over, how long have I been at Birmingham? I've been there 16 years, so probably about kind of just under 20 years, 2 decades. And then the other universities kind of copied the model. And Esther, who now works at Gloucester, was kind of one of the people from Birmingham who actually was working on the Access to Birmingham program. We now have the Pathways to Birmingham program, which is a suite of activities for students in year 12. And then in year 13, that's the Access to Birmingham. And I'll talk about the Pathways to Birmingham route now. Thank you. Next slide, please. Right, so Routes to Professions, for those students that are in year 12, the programs that you've got that you are eligible for at the moment are the summer school and the Access to Birmingham, which is the year 13 program. For students that are in kind of year 11, thinking about going into year 12, we have kind of ultimately 3 programs in year 12 for students who are interested in hopefully going to a Russell Group University or Birmingham. So we've got the Routes to the Professions program, and now that includes students who are interested in engineering. Finance has now kind of moved over to a different program in medicine, dentistry, law, and physiotherapy. So students can apply for that program in year 12, and then throughout year 12 and year 13, you get supported in those areas. And some of them, like medicine, for example, will kind of offer you and provide you work experience placements, which can be quite difficult, if you don't have the contacts. You also have the Inspired at Birmingham, and that's for students who are kind of more interested in the non-vocational degree program. So, if you're interested in history, philosophy, psychology, English, those kind of programs. And then the best of the 3 programs is the year 12 summer schools, because I run those programs. So we have 2 summer school programs. We have one for local students. So that's kind of students for King Solomon, and that's the Academic Enrichment Program. Applications are open for that at the moment. And then we have a national program for the National Access Summer School, and that's for students outside of the kind of Birmingham, immediate Birmingham, West Midlands area, and whose schools are not part of the Pathways to Birmingham partner scheme. And for students in year 13, for local students in year 13, that's the Access to Birmingham programs. If you don't get into the Routes to the Professions, Inspired, or Summer School, and then you decide in year 13, actually, I do want to apply to Birmingham, I tick the boxes, I meet the eligibility criteria, then you still have your option of applying through the Access to Birmingham program. Thank you. If we have the next one, I'll just talk in slightly more detail about these programs. For the University of Birmingham Academic Enrichment Program, the week-long residential. At this moment in time, I'm not sure whether we're running it in person or whether it's going to be online. It depends with what's going to happen with the academic. I'm kind of touching wood, got my fingers crossed that we can actually run it in person. Absolutely free of charge, doesn't cost you absolutely anything. And applications, like I said, close on the 14th of May. And there's the website, so birmingham.ac.uk AEP, and that's where the online application form is, and further details.
Wondering if it is recorded. But the question is who's recorded, but if it's done, present it. Yeah, but we can get the recording. Yeah.
If you are a student who's outside of the Birmingham, or your school is not part of the Pathways to Birmingham program, then you can apply for the National Access Summer School, and you've got the web address there. So just birmingham.ac.uk/NASS, NASS. And the applications for that program also closed on the 14th of May. Thank you. If we can have the next slide. So kind of benefits of this program. So it's not just about you coming here and we don't kind of see you again. So all students that kind of come on these programs and then kind of complete the program and then apply to the University of Birmingham, you get automatic 2-grade reduction on all of our courses. So that includes medicine, dentistry, law, psychology. So medicine standard offer is 3As. If you're a student on any of our Pathways to Birmingham programs, so those kind of 3-year 12 programs and the Access to Birmingham program in year 13, grades for medicine will fall from 3As to A and 2Bs. Plus there will be a reduction in the GCSE grades that we are looking for. Plus there's a suite of scholarships and bursaries. So if your household income is below £2,000 a year, below £60,000 a year, the university will give you £2,000 a year for each year of your degree program. So if Chloe had come to Birmingham and had met the criteria over a 5-year degree program, she would have got £10,000 from the university that she would not have had to pay back. So that's if your household income is below £60,000 a year. Plus you get an additional £1,500 a year if you get the standard grades. Even though we're kind of saying to you as a student on our Pathways program, we'll give you a 2-grade reduction. But if you go and get the standard grade, so you get your 3As for medicine, you get an additional £1,500 a year. And if your household income is below 60,000, you get that additional £2,000 a year. So that's £3,500 a year. Plus, if you come from a very specific postcode, so there's kind of Polar 4 Quintile 1, you get an additional £1,000 off the cost of your accommodation if you choose to live in halls of residence. Like I said, other universities will kind of have similar kind of scholarships and bursaries in place. So do your research. Thank you. Next slide. Plus, you get, most universities will kind of do, and especially Russell Group universities will do what we call contextual offers. So if you tick certain boxes, they'll kind of reduce your entry requirements. Normally about kind of 1 grade, but sometimes it's kind of 2 grades. So if you're kind of the school that you go to, the postcode area that you kind of live in is normally kind of based around those. If you've done the extended project qualification, the EPQ, students can do that in year 12, year 13. Some universities will give you a 1-grade reduction. Some universities won't, but certainly I know we do for majority of our courses, not all of our courses, but if you have done the EPQ, you get 1-grade reduction. We've spoken about kind of the scholarships and we spoke about the accommodation stuff. So kind of start doing your research, start looking at the universities you might be interested in to see if there are any of these schemes available for you. And if you are thinking about going to that university, then you have an opportunity to get either a reduced offer or get a scholarship or bursary. Thank you. Next slide, please. So this is what you should really be doing, whether in year 9 or year 12, 13. Attendance is absolutely so important. Having the right attitude is absolutely so important. Students with the best attendance will get their grades, their kind of target grades. The worse your attendance, the less likely you are to get your target grades. You'll kind of know that anecdotally, but all the research that's kind of done on that. Kind of says that attendance makes a massive difference to how well you do. Your extracurricular activities, so doing kind of volunteering, your Duke of Edinburgh, charity work, that kind of stuff is really important that you carry on doing that. Because if you're applying for a course like medicine, 3As, everyone that's going to apply for medicine is going to have 3As. So how do they differentiate one student from another? They will look at your personal statement, and that's your little mini essay that you write to kind of tell, talk about yourself. And then those students that kind of done the extra stuff are the ones that are going to be kind of way ahead of you. So kind of being a school prefect, kind of being part of the peer mentoring scheme if you have that at your school. These things can make a massive, massive difference. And obviously for some courses, work experience is extremely important. So any course that kind of involves you working with people, so, you know, medicine, nursing, physiotherapy, etc. Work experience is an absolute must. And you need to kind of get some of that kind of sorted. And of course, kind of hobbies and interests. Now, if you kind of do all of these things, you know, learn, you know, huge many different skills from kind of just by doing these things. And then that allows you to put all of that information on your personal statement, because there's no more point putting on a person, I've got excellent leadership skills. What university wants to say, well, actually, what have you done to gain leadership skills? You know, I was the captain of the football team, or I was the captain of the netball team, or I was, you know, head boy or head girl. You know, I was in the, you know, the student school council. So that can demonstrate these kind of key transferable skills that universities are looking for on your UCAS application. And whether in kind of year 10, you know, year 11, year 12, etc., this is what you should be developing as you're going along. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, so that's it from me. Like I said at the beginning, you know, the best way to kind of make sure you achieve your full academic potential, and every single one of you listening to this talk has that potential, is to put the hard work in. You know, without that hard work, it's going to be so much more difficult. And I'm sure if you were to, you know, if I were to ask you guys, who do you think does better in the exam? People that work hard or people that are academically able? You know, all of you will say to yourselves, people that actually work hard will do better. And if you know that, there's no excuse not for you to be working hard in order to achieve your full academic potential. Thanks so much for listening. And if you have any questions, please do put them into the chat and I'll try and get back to you. Thank you very much, whoever was pressing the button for me.